odd. Really, really odd. Hello and welcome back, Whisky fans. Today we're going to be looking at Glen Wyvis 2018. So Glen Wyvis is another new distillery, and I really love the backstory on this distillery and how it was created. It is an entirely crowd-funded distillery. It's 100% community-owned, and it's a community-owned project which was only founded in 2015. In just 77 days, 2,000 people, mostly from the local area, offered the sum of £2.6 million to crowdfund and construct Glen Wyvis Distillery. Just imagine the pressure that they must have been under when suddenly so many people trust you to that extent to live out your dream. I'm just imagining the people, the organisers at Glen Wyvis, sitting there seeing all this pledge money coming in and thinking, well, I suppose we've got to do something now. The name Glen Wyvis might be a little bit of a deja vu for a lot of you malt anorex, because Glen Wyvis is named after two closed local distilleries. That's Ben Wyvis and Glen Sciac. But the thing that I really love about Ben Wyvis is that you can't say it without having a little bit of a Scottish accent. Ben Wyvis. It just gets you in the mood. So, details from the box and the label on this one. This is Glen Wyvis 2018. It is non-chill filtered, it's natural colour, it's bottled at a wonderful ABV of 46.5. It's a vatting of 60% first-filled Tennessee whiskey casks, 25% first-filled Oloroso sherry casks, and 15% refill whiskey. It's also really great, in my opinion, that these guys have kind of picked up the torch that was dropped by distilleries like Balblair and Glenrothes, because those are distilleries that have come away from using vintages and gone over to the more common system of using age statements. Glen Wyvis, at least with this early release, have gone with a vintage, and this is a 2018 vintage. So other details that we've got here, this is batch number 2, if anyone's keeping up at home. So batch number 02/18, this is a batch of 8,000 bottles. So that kind of goes back to what I was saying before about the English whiskey, that single grain, about just how small a batch that is. So there's only 441 bottles of this stuff ever made, which is really very small. Now, these guys aren't saying that this is small batch. I don't think it says that anywhere, but that just gives you an idea of even a small distillery. 8,000 bottles is a relatively normal batch size. And also, you might have guessed, this is distilled in 2018 and bottled in 2022. So this is around about a 4-year-old whiskey. Maybe just under 4, but around about 4 years old. Just have a look, see if there's any other details on the box that I can give you. So they do half-ton mashes. So even the mashing is done in pretty small quantities. They're using concerto barley, fermented for an average of 96 hours, so it's a reasonably long fermentation time. Their wash still is 2,500 litres, and their spirit still is 1,700 litres, so pretty small stills. They also tell us that they're using, as I said before, the Tennessee whiskey barrels from America, Oloroso hogsheads from Spain, and Scotch whisky hogsheads highlight the fragrant spicy character of our unique new make. So hogsheads, I'm sure you all know, but a hogshead is basically, they're quite often ex-bourbon ASB casks, but they're stripped down into the staves and rebuilt with larger hoops, so you end up with a cask which is quite often based on ASB casks, but slightly bigger, so you get more in there. Hogsheads are one of the most common casks used in Scotland. It's also great that on the back here they say that the crowd-funded project actually says backed by 3,600 people here, a portion of the proceeds going back into the local community. So it's not only a locally crowd-funded and run and organised enterprise, but they're feeding back into the community as well. It actually says on the box, Glen Wyvis, the community spirit. So let's get some in the glass and see what community spirit tastes like. I really like this bottle, by the way. It reminds you a little bit of the old Highland Park bottles, doesn't it? The old Dumpies. Miss those. Traditional. Nice. Cork stopper on this one. Lovely sort of raw wood thing. Glen Wyvis GV on there. And the actual cork stopper is a nice solid squishy piece of cork. Not one of those horrible composite things. So Glen Wyvis 2018 on the nose. So as I alluded to, as I teased in the intro for this one, this is a very oddball whiskey. It's got some very unusual notes, but I really love them. It's a really charming, unique little whiskey. In particular on the nose, I'm getting lots of very beery notes. So notes of beer, yeasty beer, blonde ale, lots of fermentary notes. Quite hoppy as well, and I think that hoppy characteristic, at least part of it, is coming through from those sherry casks, getting notes of Centennial and Cascade hops. Really nice, meaty, characterful, floral sherry notes. Lots of character coming through from the barley, lots of cereal notes, in particular a very cereally, almost Cheerio type cereal note. Going back to those beer notes though, wonderful note of kind of like an effervescent lager, blonde ale, really yeasty sort of traditional ale, as well as some very slightly sour notes. So a little bit of a grapefruity note, which again is obviously kind of a New World IPA, American IPA type note. Bit of grapefruit in amongst the sherry there. A little bit of melon and perhaps a little bit of peach. Let's see how it tastes. Absolutely beautiful, pale, natural colour. This is what whiskey looks like. When you get a bottle of blended Scotch, White Mackay, Johnny Walker, whatever, and it's that sort of prune juice colour, orangey, Tizer, orangeade colour, that's not what whiskey looks like. This is what whiskey looks like. It's hard to believe that in 2022, whiskey companies still think that consumers want to see a bottle of dark brown liquid on the shelf. And apparently they still think that people are put off if whiskey looks like this. This is a craft product. Anyway, on the palate, more beery notes, more yeasty beer, real ale, maybe ever so slightly fainty. This is a real hearty, very ballsy, flavourful, takes no prisoners kind of whiskey. Also quite grassy, quite aldehydal, a little bit of almost a cannabis aldehydal cut grass, that sort of planty chlorophyll type note. More of those melon flavours that I was picking up on the nose. Lots and lots of hoppiness, hoppy beer, like IPA hops. In particular, it really reminds me of a beer made here in the east of England by Adnams called Ghost Ship. There's also lots of creamy dairy notes, but really very grassy, hoppy, yeasty. I love this stuff. Just going to have one more sip and look at the finish. Finish, medium long, maybe a bit more than medium long. It's a really good lingering finish. Light, sweet, creamy, grassy, hoppy. Yeah, long finish, good finish. So as for a grade, this is an easy B. Sort of a B edging up to B plus territory, which is an amazing achievement for a 4-year-old whiskey. Now, I haven't asked them, I haven't done my research on this one, but I also don't need to do my research to tell you that they've used some absolutely incredible quality sherry casks when they've been making this one. actually reminds me of a whiskey that was recommended to me by Welsh Toro, which is Penderyn Rhiannon. Another non-Scotch whiskey. It's obviously a Welsh whiskey where they're using absolutely top-notch sherry casks, and the sherry in this reminds me a bit of that. I also have to say that I think this is going to be a whiskey which really appeals to the beer lovers out there. Anyone that likes things like stout ale cask finished whiskies, or even proper traditional stouts and creamy proper traditional real ale, you're probably going to like a lot of the flavours that you get in this one. And just anyone that likes really unique whiskey, because honestly this is probably the most unique whiskey that I've personally tried in a very long time. And if I'm honest, it's probably in the top 10 of the most unique, interesting whiskies I've ever had. I think that this early release from Glen Wyvis, it not only shows that they really know what they're doing and care about the product, but it really shatters the mould with blatant disregard for what anyone thinks whiskey should be. So I really hope that a lot of you guys out there have tried this, or hopefully you're planning to try this soon, because this is a real dark horse for me. I wasn't expecting this to be amazing. It's just another 4-year-old whiskey, but it's so unique and different. So if you have tried this stuff, let me know what you think. I imagine it's probably not going to be for everyone, but I'd also be surprised if there aren't a lot of other people out there who love this as much as I do. Let me know. Thanks for watching, and cheers.